From the Fathead Studio in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny.
Man, am I still pretty? And he's like, you ain't pretty, but you're going to be all right.
And now I'm just hanging on, looking at the wall, like flying this way. And I'm like, oh man, I got to let go of this thing at some point.
And then there's one that could literally pick you up.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not really sure about that, but yeah.
That's called a helicopter.
Well,
And the last lap was just chaos. I mean, like 4 wide, 5 wide, dive bombing.
If you land it and send it into the fence, you're probably not going to get hurt. Bounce, and then this insane roll, the car that Keegan was in. I mean, I don't know if it's the shape of the Beetle or what, but that thing sent it.
So I was the supercharger specialist on my old man's car with
Specialist?
Yeah, it sounds cooler than crew guy.
Hi, I'm Tony Stewart.
I'm Mario Andretti.
I'm Christy Lee.
I'm Alexander Rossi.
I'm Cruz Pedregon.
Hey, I'm Antron Brown, and this is The Skinny.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Skinny. I'm Ken Stout. That is Rico Elmore, fresh off the trail with the NHRA. The track dude is back behind the controls, Mr. Michael Young. We have a special guest in here, a longtime friend for all of us here at The Skinny. He lives just down the road, which is great, so we could get him into the studio. He's a 3-time NHRA Top Fuel Dragster champ. In 2022, became a team owner for the Matco Tools Lucas Oil Top Fuel Dragster. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Antron Brown. Nice to have you in the studio, brother.
It's great to be back, man. I'm back on The Skinny.
Yes, sir.
Man, I tell you what, when we get older, we wish we could keep on being skinny, but it's hard to do.
Well, clearly looking over here.
You've defied it, so you're doing pretty good with it.
Yeah, well, you know, when you go on 330 plus miles an hour, you know, the fat doesn't like to stick on the bones. Trust me, it wants to fly off.
But it is crazy in your sport. I mean, everything, of course, in motorsports now is down to such a science, and I'm sure all the weight placement in the car, but every little pound really makes a difference.
It really does, and also we have developed all these new safety systems that we have on the car. Like now we have the enclosed driver compartment. Now, if you have that, you have to have fresh air. You have to have fire suppression. So you got a little bit.
Hold on a minute. You got a fresh air inlet?
Yes.
Into the helmet?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So you've got a pumper system on the car.
Yeah, we have to have that since we got into it. And the craziest part for me was all the accidents I ever had without it, the fire always got to me. But all the drivers that don't have to drive over driver compartment, they don't have to have fresh air or fire safety. Next year they will. NHRA, to be fair, NHRA saw that and finally said, hey, you know what? That's a safe deal, because every time I ever got burnt or got something in me or I couldn't breathe, it was when I was in an open driver compartment. Ever since I had the enclosed driver compartment, thank God, I never had to use my fresh air or fire suppression, but we have to have it. Wow. So it's part of it.
So quick question for you. Have you, I'm guessing your crew chiefs probably know, I don't know if you would know as a driver, but how much heavier is the new version of this car versus a car, say, of 5 years ago?
Oh, I know, right? Brother, I'm all into it, Ken. Trust me. That's not a driver, brother. I know all the ins and outs.
Team owner
trust
now,
me,
man. There's
me.
nothing you
yeah,
I know
the bills.
Put the 10 up now, right?
Yeah, we could do everything, brother. Jack of all trades, master of none. I can. But on other terms, yeah, like we add probably close to about 26 pounds of weight.
Wow.
That it gets added onto the car. And I used to be a driver back in the day because I was light enough where we used to have to put 25 pounds of weight on our car. And now with all the things that we do now, manifolds are heavier. The blower cases are heavier. Like everything we put on the car is heavier now because it's built different. All billet, not cast, not got rid of a lot of, no more blower magnesium cases.
Yeah.
The bell housings got heavier because they got to be more stouter now for protection. So I don't know if it's a car that really comes in at weight, except for maybe like Mike Salinas. He's the only one that's really close to weight because he still has nothing on his car, no fresh air, none of that stuff. His car has nothing in it, you know. So, but our cars, we come in all the time about 50 pounds overweight.
So bringing up Salinas, not trying to bring up Salinas, but how does the NHRA only fine him? How would they not take that away? Hit the win when you come in underweight.
Man,
and that's for anyone.
I don't know. That's one of those deals where that's an NHRA question. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is how do you do it? Or the other problem is that I remember when I used to race pro stock motorcycle.
Yep.
That we used to be very avid. Like we used to always wait at the scales, whoever won every round, and see if they pass weight. If they did it, you go on the scales and make weight, and you win, and you go on to the next round. And I think what happens is that Salinas passed, he passed all the other deals from all the other previous rounds. And somehow if his car ran a little bit longer, and I had it done to me before back when we were like close to weight, but our car always weighed about 20 pounds overweight. And somebody had us run on the starting line for over like another 45 seconds longer than we have ever ran at a qualifying run. And my run got kicked out in qualifying. I was like number 2 qualifier, and I had to go back to number 5 for my previous run because we were 5 pounds light. And we got back, I drained my fuel tank. We usually have like 3 gallons of nitro left. I had a gallon of nitro left because that's how long the other competitor had us running for.
Wow.
So it burnt over 20 pounds of weight out of our car, which could happen to Salinas. But
which could have happened to him.
Is that part of the games that sometimes are played?
Well, I don't think it's a game that's played because you pretty much know who you're running and you know how long they take. That's why you see some cars start first, some start second, or some of them start at the same time because their timing's the same. Because every 30 seconds that our car idle is burning a gallon of nitro.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You follow what I mean? And a gallon of nitro is 10 pounds.
Yeah.
So if you're always 20 pounds overweight, because that's what we used to do, if you burn a gallon, you still got 10 pounds there.
So you as a driver, you got to roll in at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
You just got to roll in, and you got to push the issue that you need to come on.
Absolutely. But see, this is the other thing that Mike doesn't drive with a dash in his car. The dash is on the back of their car. So the crew chief sees with the timing and all the other stuff that's going on, he's just driving. Some drivers, like you look in Torrance's car, he's just got a picture of a sunset, or he has a picture of Michael Jordan for deal on it, or his dad had a picture of a race engine or whatever in his car. Like, there's no digital dash. So you have a lot of drivers that don't even look at what's going on with the race car. Well, I do. I trim my fuel. I do all kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, to do it. So if something happens, I can get on the radio and say, hey, this thing's doing this. And then Brad, or whoever's around the car can say, okay, we'll look at it. We'll check it out. Or the trigger air is not triggered. It's just I'm just an extra set of eyes. Yeah. But the more people you have involved, the more you can stop the uh-ohs from happening. And you know, in our type of racing, is a million ways to lose and only a few ways to win.
Yeah. Absolutely right. One of the best spokespersons in the industry for sure. His knowledge is incredible, and as you can tell, the energy is right there as well. This is going to be an exciting show. Stay with us. We'll be back with more.
Antron Brown, like all the media came up and goes, how you feel? How you going to do this race? Are y'all ready to go? You going to win this race? I'll never forget, I looked at Amanda, and I go, we won because we just showed up. You know what I mean? That was my mindset.
I'm not even sure how we got here.
But we're here.
The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And American Coach, innovation is our life force.
Welcome back to The Skinny. This is the Fatheads Eyewear Studio in Speedway, Indiana. We have Antron Brown in the studio with us, 2011 U.S. Nationals winner. That's a big one for sure. And, man, we dove right into this thing. That's what happens when you come in the studio. We never know what direction it's really going to go in, but we know it's going to go and go fast. And we started talking about the weight of the car already, the intricacies that are involved in top fuel drag racing. I want to step back a little bit and, first of all, congratulate you. I say congratulations, but as 2022, you become a team owner, and you've driven for the best up until that time. But, man, it's a huge leap to take on all of that. You went through 2022. You finished second in the points, missing the championship by less than a round. So a great start for sure, but now that you're a year in, are you happy with the decision?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the reason why I say that is something that I think our sport just needed it for a long time. It needed some fresh people to come in, like you see, like Caps has done it, Tony Stewart, the Maynard family has come in, Justin Ashley's done it with Dustin Davis the year prior before I did it. And you're starting to see our sport starting to have these single individual healthy teams and growing, which they have a seed in the ground, And as our sport grows and develops, you're going to start seeing them get some branches that branch off of them, might have a second car down the road or something like that, and then our sport will multiply. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's happening. Like, we kind of retract it, and now we've got a really good foundation. And for me, is that now, like, I have my team. It's not the people that work for me. They don't work for me. These are my team members.
Yeah.
And we're family. And I heard it from everybody else. Oh, you can't do this with friends. You can't do this. You can't do that. There's a lot of things that you can and cannot do. But if you put yourself around great people, great things happen. And they have your back.
I've not been in it at your level, of course, but I was a team owner there for a handful of years, and at least was able to orchestrate a lot of the things that we did. And I just remember we were factory Scion in 2013, I believe it was 13, 14, or 12, 13. But I just remember the sleepless nights. It was terrifying trying to hit the deadlines, because racing has a deadline. You're going to go racing on this day, and you're either ready or you're not.
I'll never forget. I thought I was playing. Like, our new trailer's supposed to come in October. Our rigs are supposed to be there like beginning of November. We don't start racing. Like, we had to be at Pomona in February, 2022. I was like, we should be good. Well, our first trailer didn't show up until between Christmas and New Year's. And then our second trailer, we got to go testing. Our tech trailer did not show up until mid-January. Okay,
boy.
literally, we had 7 days to put everything we needed to put in the tech trailer, just throw it in there, and go on the road. And then when we showed up,
Box it up
oh
and
my
rip.
God, brother, it was so funny. And then when we tested, we tested, and I never forget, we tested at Phoenix, then we went to Pomona, and I never forget, brother. Like, there's like Antron Brown, like all the media came up and goes, how you feel? How you going to do this race? Are y'all ready to go? You going to win this race? I never forget, I looked at Amanda, and I go, we won because we just showed up. You know what I mean? That was my mindset.
I'm not even sure how we got here.
But we're here. Like, a lot of sleepless nights.
I won the first round right here, just getting here.
Just getting here.
Yeah.
I said, if we qualify, that is a bonus. But we knew, like, we had the means to do it, but everything was so new. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Great stuff. Antron Brown in the studio with us as we're getting going here and learning what it's like to be a team owner at the highest level. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I said, Grant, I must have made a couple $100. She says, oh, you did, huh? She said, where see that money? She took it out. She goes, this is for diesel.
I was going to say,
this is for the family.
Money right out of it.
This is for this. This is for this. I ended up with like $100. I said, it still was good. It only took me like not even an hour to go do all those driveways and made $100. I was like, I'm cool with it.
Welcome back to The Skinny. We have Antron Brown on the show here. I want to go back, age 6. I want to know how important this was in your life. To me, I think it was a huge factor in your life. Age 6, your grandfather passes away. You move into the family farm with your grandmother. I'm guessing your father,
and Mama.
Yeah, and you guys moved in to support your grandmother, I'm sure. I would think that's how it is, but it was a 10-acre farm, and I would think at that time your entire world changed.
It did. You got to think about this. I was born in Rancocas Valley, but then we lived in Trenton, New Jersey. Like sidewalks, concrete jungle.
City.
Okay? I live right at 5 Points at the monument where they have the George Washington monument with the horse. And I live right there on 5 Points where everything came together, which is a very bad part of Trenton right now. But the funniest part of it is that I remember distinctly I went there from a school that I was just used to going to, like normal. A lot of, just literally like African Americans, Hispanic Americans, like we're all together. And then I went from being a school where I see a lot of my own kind to I went to a school where I was the only black kid in the classroom. Talking about culture shock, I showed up with shell-toe Adidas, two-tone Lee pants, and these jokers are wearing like skin-tight pants with the what do you call 3/4 sleeve shirts with Ozzy Osbourne, Metallica, and Def Leppard. I'm like, what is that? They're coming there talking about Run DMC. They're coming there talking about playing air guitar. I'm like, what art? I said, it's coming there. I'm like, what's wrong with these kids? up there doing all this stuff. I'm like, whoa, like, you know what I mean? But that was the difference for me, growing up as a kid.
How did that go for you? Was the transition? Was it tough? Did you have some guys take you in and befriend you right away?
No, it was honestly, it was easy because we were very outgoing, and I grew up racing. Like, I used to come down there, and I had some friends already there because I used to come see my grandparents on the weekends, and I always played with the kids that are up and down the street. And I was very fortunate because what I did was, one thing that I did do was I was exposed to our family business, like driving a skid steer, like, you know, out there driving Chevy Chevettes out in the fields. You know what I mean? Like when I was young, like I was like 10 years old driving cars.
Well, you
already.
ended up with a racetrack out there, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
were you riding motorcycles?
Yes,
yeah.
motocross. Yeah, I went out there, and my uncle even taught me how to use the backhoe and the skid steer and our track hoe to actually build the dirt bike track. Like once he started building, he goes, "Well, you can do it now. You can maintain it." Says, "Run it up," because he used to go out there and fix it for me all the time. No, I'm gonna show you. So I'm out there with the front end loader and the backhoe, doing my own tracks when I was 12 years old. People need their driveways plowed. Here's AB driving up the front end loader down the street, pulling out driveways. I never forget. I came back. I had
it snows out there, boy.
It does. It's about just like it is out here, but we had snow back when I was growing up, like a lot of snow.
Yeah.
And I used to plow them driveways. I came back home with like a couple $100. And I said, "Grandma, I just made a couple $100." She says, "Oh, you did, huh?" She said, "Let me see that money." She took it out. She goes, "This is for diesel.
I was going to say,
This is for the family.
money right out of it.
This is for this. This is for this." I ended up with like $100. I said, "It still was good." It only took me like not even an hour to go do all those driveways and made $100. I was like, I'm cool with it.
Enterprising.
That's right.
I love it.
I mean, right off the bat, teaching you business. Like, you don't just go make it for free. There was an expense there.
No, and my grandpa was always like that with all of us, even before he passed away. He goes, "You kids can have anything you want in life as long as you work for it. Whatever you want, you can have. You just got to put the work in to get it."
So were they originally from that area? Your grandparents?
No, they're originally from the Trenton area, Lawrenceville, Ewing Township area. But my grandpop and grandma met each other working at General Motors in a factory downtown in Trenton. You know, the Trenton has a bridge that goes, Trenton makes the world takes, so it's a big factory industry area.
Yeah.
Right? So they met, they lived off of one person's salary or like money that they got, and the other one they put all away. They did that for 5 years. Then they took that money, they paid for their house in cash with 10 acres back then, whatever it was, and then he started up his own cesspool business. We had a mud pumper truck with a big tank and went pump out people's cesspools. Went from pumping cesspools to installing them to where they became septic tanks with concrete block, not cinder block. And then he was servicing them, and then he was installing them, and then doing the final grade work around the house after he put the system in.
Wow.
So
And he did
started
that back in
business from
1950s.
Scrapped it up from nothing.
Yes. And
One
then
brick at a time.
Yep, and my grandpa and his family were really poor. Like he had a lot of siblings, a lot of brothers and sisters, and they all did their own thing. One went paving, one did swimming pools, and one did pools, but did it in North Jersey, and my grandpa did it in South Jersey. Just copied the business. Wow. So, and all their families became entrepreneurs, every single one of them.
I love it.
And they're all doing well off now. And my dad and uncle still run my grandpa's business to this day.
Great stuff for sure. Once again, we're going to take a quick break here. We know how fast he can run inside of a car, but did you know he can actually probably outrun you to this day? Stay with us. We'll talk about that when we come back.
He goes, "Hey, Big, did you tell everybody how much your grandma loves me? And like how she just dreams about me?" I said, "Yeah, you are the dreamy cat." She did say that. She did say that. And he goes, "Hey, brother," he goes, "Look, if I was a few years older, you might be calling me Grandpappy." I said, all right, you got me, touche. You got me back.
Welcome back to the Skinny. We have Antron Brown, the first African-American champion for the NHRA in the studio. And as you can tell, man, just loaded with energy, loaded with stories. And we were talking about you living on your farm. We can't go any further without talking about Grandma. I mean, she's as big a star as you are. Unfortunately, she's passed, I know, but we would watch those shows, and anytime Grandma was there, I know she really loved caps.
Oh, yes, she does. Yes, she
Hey,
does.
Humphrey Bogart, remember? Or Clark Gable.
Clark
Clark
Gable.
Gable.
Clark Gable. You
And
remember
then,
that,
and then
don't you?
AV had to look it up who Clark Gable was.
Yes, I look up and say, man, who's this Clark Gable? I said, oh, I guess he's a handsome looking dude. I was like, check it out. And then I never, you know what the funniest part of it was? You know, I got caps for years with that till my grandmom let that out the bag. I was trying to keep that undercover because, you know, Cap's mom loves me. She loves, that's my sweetheart. I call her Mama Betty, you know, and I always tease Caps all the time. I said, Caps, you know, man, I said, boy, you lucky, man. If I was a few years older, man, you might be to call me daddy. I tease him that all the time. I tease him
Cap's
that all the time.
gotta love that,
Yeah, he
man.
did. He did. But as soon as he found out how my grandmom loved him,
It was on.
he looked at me one time. He got me right back, brother. He got me back so good. He goes, hey, Big, did you tell everybody how much your grandmom loves me? And like how she just dreams about me. I said, yeah, you are the dreamy Cap. She did say that. She did say that. And he goes, hey, brother. He goes, look, if I was a few years older, you might be calling me Grandpappy. I was like, all right, you got me, touche. You got me back.
Your grandfather and your father built your father's first race car.
And uncle.
Yes,
And
uncle.
your an uncle.
Yes, like everybody together. And my uncle was like the driver. My dad was like the crew chief mechanic and stuff like that. And because my dad grew up racing motorcycles. A lot of people didn't know that. He was a drag bike racer. And then he got hurt real bad, so he kind of stewed away from the speed element, and my uncle became the solo pilot of everything they raced. And it was pretty amazing because I didn't have no choice but to love drag racing. Because before I was born, my dad and uncle were in it, and my grandpa got them started out. They had a 72 Vega that they built into a drag car. Bill Grumpy Jenkins built their first engine, a little
my
355 small block.
Start at the top.
Well, think about it. In the late 70s, okay, this car was going high nines in a quarter mile
It was a
at
rocket
140 miles an hour. Normally aspirated, no nitrous, none of that stuff. This is like
That's getting it done.
no automatic, 4-speed clutch,
Oh,
drop it
rowing
down.
the lever, baby.
And Bob Jenkins, a lot of people don't know that name now, but he was a serious chassis builder back in the day. Did the rear end of my dad's car, built the whole cage and everything. But people don't realize, but Bob Jenkins, he used to build Joe Amato's top fuel cars back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, because Joe was from our area too. So Bob was an engineer, and he built numerous stuff. And we had the first 4-link underneath a car before people knew what a 4-link
No
was.
kidding. Oh, my goodness. That's
And my
awesome.
dad had to cover it up at car shows. He couldn't show people, but that Vega worked. It was built to really go like back in the day, like pro stock racing back then, but they didn't pro stock with it. They raced super comp and super gas back with it back in the day because it was fast enough.
Yeah, and you think about it then. I mean, it always applies, of course, to today as well. But back then, the tire technology and the tracks, they didn't have the grip that they have now. So that 4-link system had to be massive, had to be a massive advantage.
It was before its time. And the thing about it is that I was just so impressed to look back at their history of what my dad and uncle did and the things that they did, what my grandpa instilled into them. You know what I mean? It's like they had some nice stuff, brother. Like I looked at them like, why didn't I have that when I grew up? My dad and uncle kept it all for themselves. I'm like, why don't you hook a brother up?
Hey, they can't pay for all the
You
racing,
know what I
but they
mean?
can
Like,
pay for
oh,
their racing, you know?
Yeah.
We're taking care of this.
So was
right
it
here.
so was it your grandpa's passion? Did
Yeah.
he love it?
Well, my grandpa liked everything. My grandpa was into like old fire trucks, restoring them. He bought old fire trucks, restored them, and always drove them in like the town fairs, like up in the parades, and like in Chesterfield. And what happened was, my grandpa got his sons everything he wished he would have had when he grew up as a kid. Follow me? Like my dad and uncle had everything. Like when the first Honda like mopeds came over here, everybody else riding bicycles. My dad and uncle were driving Hondas. Okay, like what the heck you got? You know what I mean? This will tell you how my grandpa spoiled him. My dad got his first car, so my grandpa didn't know they like speed racing or hot rodding.
Yeah.
My dad had a Dodge Dart with a 4-cylinder in it. Well, my uncle didn't want a new car. My dad got a new car. My uncle got a 8-year-old 1962 Corvette.
Oh,
Okay, my dad got jealous. So then they sold that car to one of their cousins because they wanted a speed car. So then my grandpa bought him a 68 Barracuda notchback.
Nice.
Okay.
Wow.
Then he found him. The cops brought him home one night because they were street racing their cars. And my grandpa was like, "What the heck are you doing? Don't want to find you wrapped up around no telephone pole." So that's when they got into the drag racing zone because they got caught street racing. My grandpa says, "Y'all not driving these cars on the street one more time. You get caught by the cops one more time, I'm in and everything. But I tell you what I will do. You like speed? We'll build a drag race car." And that's when it started.
Game on.
I hope you have all the pictures of these cars you just
I got them. They still got the cars.
Perfect.
They still
that's
got
awesome.
them.
Really?
They still got every car, the Vega, then the Roadster, and they still have all their dragster. They never sold any of them.
I love it.
They kept, and they look pristine still too.
Unbelievable. Such exciting stuff. Side note, you realize this guy ran quick enough on foot to qualify for the Olympics? We'll talk about that when we come back. I promise. Both motorcycles break, something happens, and both guys hop off and have to run to the finish line. Did it ever happen for you?
No, it hasn't happened, but I wish it would because they lost every time. I wish they lost every time. I don't care who it
You'd have
is.
been a ringer.
There wasn't anybody that.
No, I got that every time. I'm looking for that day. I'm looking for that day where the cars break and say, "Y'all got to run to the end." I'm going to get out and smile.
The Skinny is brought to you by American Coach. American Coach, innovation is our life force. And Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04.
Welcome back to the Skinny. Antron Brown in the studio with us here. Couldn't be happier about it. What an exciting guy. So talented as well. Phenomenal driver. 3-time champion, of course, on the tour with NHRA. Started off in Pro Stock Motorcycle. But we want to go back a little bit before that. We've been talking about him racing, and I teased this for a couple of segments here, but this guy back in 1997, 1998, fast enough to qualify, actually got an invite to qualify for the Olympic team. In 97, they said you ran quick enough to qualify for the team, but you weren't trying to qualify for the team then. Bottom line is, you can run. Can you still run?
I can run a little bit still. I still got my legs with me, but it's a little different type of training that I do now. Like I'm nowhere near in shape like I was in college. Like my muscles got a lot smaller. You know what I mean? I used to be a little bit bigger, especially down low. Like my upper body's bigger. I used to be thin up top, and my legs used to be big down low. But it was a lot of fun back then. I mean, but it was some work, brother. When
I
we
was
were in
just going to
college,
ask you, how dedicated were you to get to that level?
brother, we had track practice early in the morning. I remember waking up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m.,
Really?
going and running inside these, like, because you got indoor track in the wintertime. Had to get up and run in the indoor facility, then go to class, come back from class, and then we might have some different stuff like water work. We're in the pools to loosen the muscles up. Then we might have to get on and do some treadmill work or this kind of work and plyometrics and weight training. And, I mean, it was a vigorous routine because you had to build to peak at a right time. Break you down so you can build back up. Break you down, build you back up. Break you down, build you back up, and then you'll feel like incredible when it's time to run the big national events and stuff like that. And I remember like yesterday, man, but I loved it. I just like to compete.
What was the pressure like? I remember running track when I was in junior high. Nothing like you, but I remember before the races, man, I was all but sick, you know, from the pressure of getting out there. Did you feel it that way?
No, I was a type of person that the higher the stakes are, the better I was because I was able to get myself in that zone and get calm. You know what I mean? I always looked at everything of like being poised for that moment. You know what I mean? And I always was one of those firm believers, if you prepared and practiced and did it over and over again to where you could do it without thinking about it, all you got to do is show up and do what you do. And if you lose, you know you can look back and say, what could I have done different? You just work to be better the next time. Keep working. That's all I do. And I was the best I could be at that moment because I gave it all I had to that moment.
Hey, man, let's jump back into the racing thing because I'm guessing a lot of that discipline that came from you running and track, the getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, all that practice, you carry all that discipline right into racing as well, and then eventually make your way into the world of motorcycle racing and high-end motorcycle racing, of course, landing in Pro Stock Motorcycle as well. So talk to us about those days.
Well, for one thing, is going from college to racing Pro Stock Motorcycle. A lot of people don't realize the whole story. They got to remember when I first started racing Pro Stock bike, Troy Vincent was my team owner. played in the NFL, professional football player, and not just an average professional football player, one of the best that ever at the cornerback position, period.
Yeah.
Right?
It's tough.
Very mindset, business oriented, very good speaker. And if that, his resume speaks for itself. He's a vice president of the whole NFL under Roger Goodell. Okay, so you know what type of person
Is
he
that
is.
where he's at
Yes,
now?
where he's
a
at.
VP.
That's amazing.
Wow.
He's a VP of
That
the
is
whole NFL.
awesome.
So that tells you what
They ought to sponsor your car.
you know.
Saying.
Well, I got to train under him. That's like a mentor or a school that you can't pay to go to.
Oh, no.
And talking about mindset, focus, work ethic, what you got to do, and be the best of the best to be elite. I learned from that. And with Dave Schultz coming to Pro Style Bike, he just didn't ride the bike. He was an engineer. He did a lot of R&D, did aerodynamics, knew about engines, everything, and I learned from him.
One last quick question before we get off the subject and take a commercial break. I've seen it happen a number of times in your drag bike racing. Both motorcycles break, something happens, and both guys hop off and have to run to the finish line. Did it ever happen for you?
No, it hasn't happened, but I wish it would because he lost every time. I wish he lost every time. I don't care who
You'd
it
have
is.
been a ringer.
There wasn't anybody that.
No, I got that every time. I'm looking for that day. I'm looking for that day where the cars break and say, y'all got to run to the end. I'm going to get out and smile.
We'll take a quick break right here. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the amazing crew members he has.
My mom, she had a Corolla. You know what I mean? Because she could buy one. You could find them everywhere, and they last forever. Just like the NHRA, you show up, and you can race anything you have.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so it makes other people get in. It's very easy to get in.
Welcome back to The Skinny. We have Antron Brown on the show here, ranked number 1 for the decade by Auto Week. Pretty special ranking right there, a special moment, I should say, to know that the peers and the level of competition you competed at for 10 years and end up on top of that, that's a special award, man.
I know. I didn't even know what to say. But the thing about it is that I can tell you one thing. I look back and it was a special honor to take for our team because that was a whole totally team effort there. And I was with some great people over all those years. You know what I mean? From 10 to 20. We spend most of it there with the trio that we have right now with Karate, Oswald, and Mason, with Bryant, Mark, and Brad, and
Brad.
Well, Brad. People don't realize, you know what I mean? Like Mark and Bryant, they come in and out, but they give everything to Brad, and Brad's the glue that keeps it all together because he's the one that does everything on a weekly basis. That's full time in the shop. So those three are the three amigos. You know what I mean? Brian and Mark are up here. I mean, like, you know, you got Brian and Mark up here, and you got Brad that's in between. He's like the glue or the creamy feeling that keeps everything together.
I like that creamy feeling.
That's it.
Yeah, so 09, you guys all kind of got it. Brad was there too, right?
Yeah.
Am I right by
Yep.
thinking that?
Yeah, because Brad was there with me from the beginning in 08
Yeah.
with Beard and
Yeah.
David Powers. And the
Yep.
team got sold out. Ashley took it over.
Yep.
And then that's when Brian, Mark, and myself got together with Brad.
You know, Toyota, you spoke about it a little bit earlier. What an amazing company to be involved with. I've been involved with them, I think, since it's 20 years, at least been 20 plus years with me. And, you know, we started out sharing suites and, you know, doing some stuff, helping them with hospitality locally. And, I mean, it's just grown. And, I mean, I used to work in the dealer industry, right, in dealerships, and we had General Motors products. I have never felt more like a family member than I ever have at Toyota.
Oh,
Is that a fair assessment?
You're spot on. Rico, you're spot on because I've been with Toyota now since 2008 when I came in top fuel with David Powers. And once you become that part of that family, you're a lifer.
Yeah.
When we show up those Motorsports Day, you still see Iron Man Stewart, who had the first off-road Toyota Tacoma pickup truck out there tearing up. He still shows up, brother.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, that's over a 40-year stint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid watching him.
They're trying to make some of that magic happen in the NASCAR land. I don't know that any other motorsports forum could ever figure it out. And I don't think, not dogging on him, but I don't think the NHRA figured it out. I think he found a bunch of good competitors that wanted to do it. In you, J.R. Todd, you know, and Erica and all the above. But it's like they're trying to force something over there when, man, it's just fluid over here.
It's very fluent, and what you got to do is just like Toyota is a company that's accessible.
Yeah.
NHRA is accessible.
Right.
Where you go up down the road. When I grew up, my mom, she had a Corolla. You know what I mean? Because she could buy one. You could find them everywhere, and they last forever. Just like the NHRA, you show up, and you can race anything you have.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so it makes other people get in. It's very easy to get in. Like when I got in, they didn't have junior. Don't get me wrong. They didn't have junior tractors when I was a kid.
That's a great point. I never even thought about that. You can run what you brung.
Yes,
for sure.
You know, it's the accessibility. You get what I mean? And at the end of the day, if it's only open for a selected group over here or there, and you got to find a special passcode to get in, how are you going to bring up Joe from over here, or Susan from over here, or Becky, or Jerome, or Rita?
Yeah.
How are you going to bring all these different people to do it if they can't get to it in their communities?
Yeah.
Right?
That's a great point.
So and I think that's what Toyota has done, is that they have opened that pathway. And what they're doing is just like anything else. If you show people opportunity that they never knew they had, and they try it, they love it, they come. You know what I mean? And that's what NHRA has done for many years, especially when they came back in the late 90s, mid-90s with the junior dragsters.
Walk us through your entire system, launch the car, let me know what you're feeling until you finally pull the chutes and pull it onto the shutoff road.
Oh, okay, I'm going to charge for this ride.
We'll pay.
I just put it on our bill.
Want to get the skinny on other guests and different types of motorsports? Check out our YouTube page and get the skinny. The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And American Coach. American Coach, innovation is our life force.
Welcome back to the Skinny. Ken Stout, Rico Elmore, and the track dude Michael Young. We have Antron Brown in the studio with us. One of the best in the business, no question about it. So the next question you'll want to hear the answer to, because I want you to take us for a ride, man. Put yourself inside the car. They're starting the car up for you. Walk us through your entire system. Launch the car. Let me know what you're feeling until you finally pull the chutes and pull it onto the shutoff road.
Oh, okay, I'm going to charge for this ride.
We'll pay.
I just put it on our bill.
All right. So first I'm sitting in the car, helmet on, strapped in tight. Then I get the signal that they're winding it over. They'll go like this. Then the motor winds over. They do it without starting it up just to make sure it's cleared out. Then after that, I'll look at Mark. Mark's sitting down there. He's in there. He's activating, making sure that our clutch system is charged, where it makes sure the cannon's all the way pushed back. So he's charging it. Then he'll go up to me. He goes, Antron. He goes like this, going to start up. He gives me the cue with it, nod his head. I'll flick the switches up. Brad starts firing the car up. You hear it start up on gas. I turn the fuel lever all the way back to give it nitro once it starts up on gas. And then you'll start hearing it change the nitro.
And how long do you generally wait?
I'll as soon as I hear it, like not when he's turn it over. If he turn it over, you'll just hear it drive turn. But once it goes, and then I'll turn the nitro deal on.
Okay.
As soon as I hear it firing up, I turn the nitro deal on. Then you can see when the fuel pump comes up on the dash, and you'll see it go over like 5 gallons per minute, and you'll hear the car cackle off on nitro because it's getting the nitro. And you'll start hearing it go, and it'll start going pop, 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 pop. Now it's on nitro. Then they sit down there. I'm just waiting there. Brad's doing his little adjustments on the injector. I can see him getting the idle right, getting the gallons per minute right. Then he's going to put my head shield down, click it down, puts his finger in front of me, sends me forward. When he sends me forward, I ease off the clutch. I just roll through the water real smooth. Don't let the clutch all the way out because you don't want the tires to start spinning. So then once I know I'm clearing the water, I let the clutch all the way out. Karate's right there, Bryant, my crew chief, sitting right there. He'll tell me to strike him up. I hit the gas pedal, goes against the gas, The throttle stop, which only opens the throttle blades about 3/16 of an inch. I can look at the dash. Engine RPMs go up to about 6,500, burning out.
3/16 of an inch, and it lights those tires
Yes,
up.
yes, 3/16 of an inch. That's all it takes. You don't want to go much farther than that because you activate the fuel system and get all the raw dog power.
And somebody found out this weekend if you don't take that off when you take off in the race, it still opens up 3/16 of an inch.
That's all it does. And that car just go like that when he leaves the line. And then once I feel the car lit up and I feel myself coming to the starting line, like where we line our front tires up at, that's usually where I let off. And you'll hear the tires chirp. And once they chirp, car's idling down. That's when I push the clutch back in, ease the brake, not hard, because you jerk it too hard, you could take the fuel away from it and stall your car, take the fuel away from the engine.
Oh, interesting.
So you want to slow it gradually because you don't want to pull the fuel away from the fuel
Love
pump.
this stuff. Yeah.
Once it comes to a complete stop, you put your hand on the reverser, let the reverser, if it doesn't want to go in, let off the clutch really slow, and it'll fall in like you're driving a semi-truck. You'll have those inexperienced drivers, they'll keep on trying to jerk it in and then break the reverser and break some stuff. You just got to loosen up, detent it, and push the clutch back in, and it'll fall right in. Once it falls right in, let the clutch out. Let the clutch out, get the car rolling, get up to enough speed, push the clutch in so you're coasting back. Because you don't want to leave the clutch out. You don't want to cause heat on the clutch. While I'm going back, I'm looking at my backup guy. He's giving me the signals. And I'm turning wherever he wants to turn. So the crew chief wants to get those tires right in the prime grip that he wants you to be in. Then once I stop, I put it in forward. Then Bryant walks up in the front, pulls me up to the beams. I roll up to the beams. And then he sits there. Then once I get close, then he cuts me off and tells me I got about 3, 4, 5 inches from the beam. Then I'm sitting there. Then that's right there. I'll turn my fresh air on so I could get a little air so my shield doesn't fog up when I put it down in case it's cold or if it's humid. It won't fog up. Then I'm waiting, and then Brad will come in the front of the car, give me the finger right in front of the window, flicks me forward. That means it's all mine. Now it's time to go to the mission. That's when I slap my visor down. I bump into the pre-stage. Then I usually have to wait for them to bump into pre-stage, or they might already be there. If they're already there, I take my last breath. Pull the fuel pump all the way back on. Take my foot off the clutch. Bumper in real easy. Not jerking the car. Real easy. Got stage bulbs on. Other stage bulb on. Soon as I see the first flicker of yellow, that right foot's pushing the gas pedal down. I'm not saying to go. I'm not trying to tell myself to go. It does it automatically. Boom. Drop the handle out. Handbrake off. Hand grabs the wheel. That's when you start feeling the tug of the car taking off. It revs up, gets up on the tire. You start feeling that pressure getting into the lower part of your gut. And you're like, ooh, she's taking off. And you're starting to crumple down because the G's are starting to hit you. And literally in 0.8 of a second, you just felt literally right at 4 G's. And you did that in 0.8 of a second at 100 miles an hour. Then the car's just constantly going. It's pulling stronger and stronger and stronger. 330 gets some more. You're going to 4.5 G's. Then you get to about 550 feet where it finally goes 1-to-1. G meter goes off the chart over 6 G's, goes 1-to-1. And right when it went 1-to-1 at where you pull the most G's, the car's right at 295 miles an hour. Then the rest of it, once it goes 1-to-1, the car snaps up off the ground and you're at full bunk over mode. I call it full tummy tuck. Your stomach is touching your backbone, your chest is concave, and it feels like you can't breathe, and you're like this. And then the car's hovering, and you're like, oh, I'm just holding on, and you're just making it guide. And that sucker's guide through, and when that finish line comes, you hit that parachute, then you go, poof, and then everything else goes the opposite way. And then when that chute hits you, you feel good.
Dude, absolutely astonishing.
Yeah.
And then
that's
when
the
the ride's
best ride
over,
we've ever gone for.
Hey.
I kid you, I got goosebumps, dude. You were
That
watching the
hair's
car, dude.
standing
I
up.
got goosebumps, man. That was incredible.
took you on the ride. I
You
told
did.
you had to pay for it, though.
I'm all in, dude. I buy you a beer. Ladies and gentlemen, we love it when he is in the studio, Mr. Antron Brown. You go to the NHRA races, make sure you look this guy up. He'll always find time for you. We root him on every time we see him. He is an absolute pleasure. And now you know a little bit of the skinny on that talented man.
Want to get the skinny on other guests and different types of motorsports? Check out our YouTube page and get the skinny.